Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is the end of fall, beginning of winter here in northern Florida, and as you can see behind me, the grass is non-existent. But that doesn't mean the cows stop eating. So usually we feed all of our cattle hay and grain, but for the first time ever we are going to try silage. So this is a brand new adventure for us. We're going to be trying sorghum silage. We've partnered with a local farmer here in our area. So we are getting our first load of that this week and we are super excited. So come along with me as we get ready to get some silage. First things first is a little bit of site prep. We're going to put the bags of silage all in this area. But what we need to do is really kind of level this out a little bit better. That way when the loader comes in to scoop the silage, it's a nice level ground so that we're not digging holes and tearing up all of the plastic. So we've got our bucket on and we're gonna get busy smoothing out this ground so that this doesn't tear up in the future. This red machine that's backing in is a bagger. There's several different ways that you can put silage away. One of them is using a bagger. You could also use silos. A lot of people do use silage pits, but we are not quite that big time, so we decided to use the bagger system. This allows us to use a temporary space to put this in, and we don't have to actually build anything to store the silage. You can see they are tying off a knot, and they're going to put that knot underneath the bag, and then as the bag fills up, the weight of the bag goes over on itself. I won't lie, it was super exciting seeing all the semis pull in. I did think I was gonna have to cut down some trees just based on the amount of space up front, but the truck drivers were able to pull in super easy, and they set up the cones and they acted like they had pulled in there a million times. This is the conveyor belt on the bagger, and when the semis back up, they lift up their tailgates, and there's a conveyor belt in the semi trailer that pulls all of the silage back to the bagger. And the more silage comes out, the driver of the bagger revs up the engine, giving it more horsepower to be able to pull all of that silage in. You can't see it in this video, but on the other side of the conveyor belt are basically little wands, little hands that are tossing the silage to the back of the bag. And when I was standing here, I was getting covered in silage. The guy who was operating it stayed inside and he didn't get covered, but you can see the silage pouring out the top right there. I didn't realize this when they pulled the bagger in, but it can actually drive on its own. It was pulled by a tractor, but it does have its own motor and its own drivetrain. And as the semis unload and as the bag fills up, the bagger pushes the semis along. It was truckload after truckload. We should have about 75 tons of silage. You can see right here that the bagger is trying to drive itself. It's lifting up and down to get out of the bag. So it's pulling forward, getting ready for them to be able to cut the bag off so they can seal it up. It was interesting, usually when you back up to a trailer, the trailer is not moving and trying to hook up to you at the same time, but in this situation, the driver of the bagger was trying to pull forward and hook up to the tractor. At the same time, the tractor driver was trying to back up to the bagger. So they finally got that together and got it hooked up. The operator told me that I needed to put some dirt on the end of the bag to make sure the air seals up. That's the whole thing with silage, is that you have to have it closed up so that the gases will begin to ferment the forage that's in the bag. You can see how large the bagger is. Before they got here to the farm, we actually had to take out our front gate and 3 posts on each side in order for the bagger and that tractor to be able to get into our yard. Just 1 bucket full was plenty to be able to close off the end of the bag. That way we can keep all of the air and the gases that are inside that bag inside, so that the fermentation process can begin. All the little zebus, the bag is right next to their pasture, and I'm sure they could already smell all that fresh green. This is what 75 tons of sorghum silage looks like in a bag. It is huge. You can see it from the road. It's massive compared to our loader. The loader is shorter than it is, but this should last us probably about 7 months. It's crazy how much food cows go through. Now the hard part comes, the wait. We have to wait at least 30 days before we can start using the silage as our main feed. That fermentation process has to get going. So all of these cows are already standing at the fence ready to go, but for now they're gonna have to keep eating their liquid feed and their hay until the silage is ready.